Hi everybody. This week's video is going to be all about prickly pear. I have been going out to a local prickly pear and making sketches and had some really interesting developments from the start to the finish that I want to share with you. So here is the sketch that I made while I was sitting next to this prickly pear at my neighbor's house. And while a good start and a very interesting compositional magic happening here, I came back to my desk and decided to change values of the thing. So and I started to play with different line. So this is with the dip pen and some different colors, creating much more yellow for the petals for the cactus. And these tuna fruits, the fruits that come from the cactus, they do have a varying degree of purples. So I went here and then I thought about what the background is. Now this background is a gouache. It's not this gouache, but it's a acrylic gouache, and then the rest of it is watercolor, but of course there's some pencil work and some other things in here. So then what I did is I just went back and forth in sketchbooks. So after this, I think I really was interested in this blue line that's coming around and defining the edge, you know, of the overlapping petals. And so I tried it again here, and I like it just fine. And then with this leftover space, I thought, what if I changed the background? And I don't know if you can see really, but to me the colors in here look far more luminous when I have this sepia in the background. So I thought, okay, let me try the sepia in the background in my next sketchbook and keep it with a focus on the great big tuna fruits, right? Make them even bigger and see if I can add even a bit more color and line in here. This dark brown is a kind of interesting, it's a Conte Paris pencil. It's very similar to, if you've seen in my previous videos, you can buy a little box that has this exact same color in a stick. But the one I did here, I used the pencil to get some of these darker lines down here. So anyway, then I went on and I thought, what if we make the paddle more blue? And I think I didn't really, I didn't really like that, but I did like the idea of having a lot of tuna fruits around this size where we can see the heads of them. So then I came back to this sketchbook and did it where I can have the heads showing and to bring in that red color, because the red makes the yellow more yellow. Does that make sense? Makes it appear to be more yellow when I drop in tiny little bits of red. So I worked on this one, and then I believe, then I started working. So before I started this one, I started working on stretched paper, and so this is the one. I still am not convinced that I'm quite finished. I think there might be a need for more texture in here, and so a little bit more dark reds on the tops of the tuna fruits. But I love the joyful feeling that I get when I look at this. And so yeah, and I love the variation in line. So if you can see, so line doesn't necessarily have to be just dark on light. We often think of line as dark on light, right? Because when we're writing in a book or a name, we're writing dark on light, but it could be light on dark. And so like I consider this white to be a line and to be a variation on the size of the line, because it gets fatter here in the middle and it then gets thin at the ends. And then of course these lines in the dark accentuate the tuna fruits, and I rather like those. So this one is here being looked at while I work on another one on stretched paper. And in keeping with that theme of the deep sepia gouache and a very, very light, very luminous yellow paddles with the purplish pink and the red to accentuate all of that color. So I'm going to show you a little bit of my process in stretching paper, because I have not done this before. So I think it's a little bit humorous to watch my first attempt. And yeah, and then I think what I'm going to do is I'll put on a timer and work on this one for a while with the camera on, so that you can see the process of something that's in process. And I have some idea of what I want to do here. I feel like laying in the rest of the dark sepia in the background is one thing to do. Another thing to do is to continue to figure out textures in these. This is really just like the first layer of yellow and a little bit of, I added Hooker's green to my palette over here. But yeah, so I was playing with that the other day in my sketchbook of what would it be like if there is some Hooker's green added to the quinacridone gold. How does that show up? And they play well. They play well with one another, these two colors. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to show you about stretching paper, and then I'm going to put on the timer. And for you, it'll probably be about 5 minutes. It'll be about 20 minutes for me. I'll just speed it up ×4 so that it moves right along. And that's it. All right. Okay, moment of truth. Got my great big piece of paper, got my dry board, I've got my kitchen sink. Let's try it. Woo! If I don't get wet, it'll be a miracle. Now, I saw other YouTubers telling which side to get wet first and all that. I'm just going for it. Just getting it all wet. See how it goes. And then I guess there's supposed to be a front and a back side to watercolor paper, but I'm just gonna put down the side that I don't like to paint on the most. I'm gonna put that side down. And oh, it sticks. It sticks like it's supposed to. Who knew? Okay. All right. So let's see here. I think I'm supposed to have like a sponge or something to straighten it out, but I didn't think ahead on that one either. So let's take a nice little rag that seems clean, and I mean, this is pretty thick paper anyway, so oh, I'm getting little fibers all over it from this little rag, so maybe don't use a little rag. Maybe go find your sponge. Maybe I can wash it off. I'm sure it'll I'm sure it'll just like blow away once it's dry, right? All right. This seems super professional. Okay, so now I'm just gonna staple. I guess I'll just kind of start in the middle. Seems like, oh my God, put staplers in your staple before you start. You've got to be kidding me. It's an empty staple. All right, let me go find some staples. Okay, got some staples, but I think it was a blessing that I didn't staple this right away, because I think you're supposed to let the paper rest while it's wet for like 6 minutes or something like that. So I don't know, it's had 4 or 5 minutes. It's probably good enough. Maybe it'll take me another minute to fill my stapler. All right. All right, here we go. Uh-oh. It's not going all the way. Oh, now it is. I just have to staple it like I mean it. Ah! Staple it like you mean it, Kato. Kato. Oh, holy cannoli. I am failing stapling right now. Alright, let's see. Nope. I think I need to go find the actual staple gun in the garage. Because... oh. There we go. It's been poorly stapled, barely stapled. Some of the staples need to come out already, but I'm going to just let it dry like that and then look at it later. And in the meantime, I'm going to go to the garage and find the staple gun. Yeah, the right tools make all the difference. Okay. The first one I tried is drying, and it doesn't look promising. It's all bubbling up as it's drying, and the staples are so poorly done by me. So I went in the garage and I found a couple of staple guns. I found this one, but it has no staples, and I don't know if it can use the ones I have. And then I found the heavy-duty one that you use for construction, but the staple size, it just feels like overkill for this project. So I'm going to try again with a smaller stapler and a small piece of paper and see if I can do better second time around. Wet. Alright. Got a wet piece of watercolor paper and flat spot. And, oh right, and this is to let it rest for a second, so I'll do my best to be patient and let it rest. The really good thing about this actual piece of watercolor paper is it has a blemish. So from like some bug that died in the box while it was being stored. So the awesome thing of having a blemish is like I don't have to care anymore. Probably my best piece of work will happen on this piece of paper. Alright, so that's wet and it's on board. And I should set a timer. I should go find a sponge so I can do this without my fingers. Let's do that. Oh god. Sponge that I bought in order to dip it into paint and make, so hopefully I'm not dropping any pigment on my new paper. It feels professional, but I don't know if it's really any different than using my fingers, honestly. And it's dropping all kinds of little textile-y pieces of I don't know, bits of lint and hair and stuff. But the smaller little sheet of paper actually is cooperating much nicer, so that's pleasing. It's making me feel more confident. Alright, has it been 6 minutes yet? I'm sure it has not. But I'm really anxious to staple this thing and see how it works. Is patience the name of the game here? Okay, I'll do it. I'll be patient. I think I can handle 5 minutes. Right. When it starts bubbling up, does that mean it's ready to be stapled down? I just got myself some chips and hummus, which I figure is a perfect way to burn 5 minutes. But it's probably even a better way to drip hummus onto the paper, and then it would really be my favorite piece of paper because it would definitely be messed up to start. Go on. I'm going in. That's it. But I'm gonna do it better this time. How? I don't know. I haven't perfected my technique at all. But ooh, that one was perfect, guys. That was perfect. 2 in a row. Maybe it's just having an even surface. That was almost perfect. That was like a 93%. Oh, that one is ugly. Ugly. You ugly. Uh-oh. All right, now. I don't think this is allowed, but I'm doing it anyway. All right. Not good. Oh, perfect. Perfect. 95%. Oh, perfect. Not even on the paper. Let's see if we can do a better job. Oh, perfect. Perfect. 4 perfect ones in a row. I guess she can learn. She can learn a thing. Oops, that was terrible. Oh, another one that was terrible. You know, maybe it's not me. Maybe it's like whatever piece of wood is underneath it. Maybe that's the thing. Yeah, because all of these are ugly right here. Can't be me. All right, well, there we are. A little bit bubbly, but let's let it dry out and see if it works. All right, this is the last piece. And what I did with this one is I wetted the board first with a sponge, and I let the paper soak in a little bathtub in the sink, like right there, before, you know, for a little while. So let's see if this one's any better than the other 3. Okay, I did all 4 the great big piece is the first one, and see how much it's like bubbling up right now. But of course it's still wet, and I'm supposed to let it go for a day, 24 hours. And then my second one, slightly better, but still has a bubble. But my technique is improving, but still sucks pretty much. And then the third one I tried, I don't know, maybe it has the worst buckling right now. And my stapling technique is pretty bad. And then I tried the great big stapler with the like more hefty things. It just seemed like overkill, didn't seem right. And then this is the final one, and maybe it's not buckling because it's still super saturated, but I think it's my most successful one yet. Yay! We'll see. We'll see tomorrow. I'll show you tomorrow. Editing Kendra here. I'm watching back on my footage and realizing that I never showed you the final day later papers. So this will have to do. This is the biggest paper, and you can see that it is mostly very flat, except for where I failed to properly secure it at the corners. So be sure to staple all your corners. And the other thing you should know is that as I had them drying out on the porch in the sunshine, I looked at all of them and thought, I really need to re-soak these, let them sit in their little bathtub and get all comfortable, and then re-staple them. So I pulled the other three off and soaked them and redid them. So I don't know if that contributed to them all laying rather flat or not. Probably they would have dried in the sun and ended up flat anyway, but anyway, that's my experiment. Close. I only filmed the first part of working on it, but I'll tell you where I am right now. This paddle that was actually facing sideways in the photograph, a reference, didn't look right to me, so I'm going to create the one that was behind it, put it in front, and then go back over with some of the sepia and just create that kind of negative space, and let that paddle be a full paddle. And then the only last thing that I can think of at the moment is to get some more gouache. There's something I did on the other painting where I mixed a little bit of olive and a little bit more of titanium white and got some darker values. Like, for instance, I think right in here, in order to really differentiate this paddle from this one. I think this one needs to get a little bit darker. And you see I've been incrementally getting it darker. I put in a blue line with just the luminance pencil. I've tried some going over and making some white to separate those. But it's not enough. It's not enough. So I'm gonna do that. And then I'm just gonna keep asking, what next, what next? Oh, there was one other thing I know I need to do is a little bit more of this, like shining out these tuna fruits with some line work. And these ones over here, I don't know if you noticed, but they're quite muted compared to these where I dropped in some opera pink. That's that pink that really, really shines out right there. And trying to decide, because I have a lot of definition in these guys with more reds and pinks, and then a little bit less in here with some of that color up underneath, the color that comes from the Conte Perry sepia, and a little bit of blue. But then on the back, I've left them a little bit less defined, which is, you know, an illustrator strategy. But I'm still actually trying to decide if that's what I want in this. The thing that I was going for with this series of paintings that is being achieved quite a bit is just this feeling of filling my eyes with a yellow color. I don't know if you do this, but in the northern hemisphere where we get so much less sun in the winter, I feel the need to just let the yellow colors like shine up into my eyeballs. Just like a mental health practice. And sometimes I find myself painting a lot with the quinacridone gold in the winter. I mean, I do it all throughout the year, but in the winter especially, just to see that yellow. And so I was thinking, if I have like a trio, maybe at this size, because this is such a nice size, a trio of paintings that have so much yellow. Let's see, it's about 13 by 13 inches. It's a really good size. I can put them up on the wall and just see that yellow and those happy colors throughout winter. That's the idea anyway. So I'm going to go about doing this, and if I have time, I will show you what it looks like at the end. I want to get this video up on Thursday, so we'll see. We'll see if there's the time. All right, let's get to it. All right, let's see how this turns out. It bled under a little bit. Let's see what I can do to scrub it out. A line, and that makes that paddle quite interesting. I can look at it now and see if I want to keep it that way or if I want to change it somehow. Let's check it out right side up. I like how, I mean, this was very kind of unintentional because this is where that paddle was on its side, and so it has that same line, but a slightly maybe darker on the side. I don't know, maybe there's no difference, but Yeah, it almost looks like the same line, like my eye kind of. So that brings up another experiment that I think of, is like, what if I intentionally had these lines going through certain of the petals where I had a darker green and a lighter green, or a green and a gold that was kind of off. How would that read? What would that look like? But I think that's for a new painting, because this one looks pretty close to done. And I love checking out the glory job. Oof. That's cool. So my plan is I can just cut off, I mean, this would be under the mat if I framed it with the mat, or I could just cut off the edge. Oh, that's cool. I love how that turned out at the bottom. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, that's nice. Well, here we are, a painting on stretched watercolor paper. God, I can't wait to stretch another piece and make another one now. I hope you guys feel like painting too, and get out your brushes and get those things wet. Grip. The staples are still kind of a bear. I don't know. This isn't the most elegant situation, but I don't want to scrub off the glue of using that tape that you can buy, so I'm going to stick with this for the moment. What I'm curious about is whether or not there's any discoloration on the back of this paper. Looks like it's okay, because I'm just using some crappy plywood from the garage, and I'm not really sure if there's a downside to doing it that way. Staple. Oh, not the whole thing came out. Uh-oh. There we go. All right, let's check out the back. Yeah, a little bit of discoloration from the plywood, so there might be some archival problems with that. So I may paint this with a gesso to seal it before I put on some new paper. Anyway, nice experiment. It's turned out pretty well.